Chapter 12. Chengli lay back on his mat and drifted in and out of the life around him. He thought one day had passed, or maybe 3 or 4. He wasn't sure. The pain pierced through his leg and tugged at his entire body so that he thought he might never walk again. The men ignored him, but the mother brought him food and changed the bandage over his wound, placing fresh onion slices on it to keep the angry demons away. She seemed as tall and strong as the men in the family, but it was her hair that fascinated Cheng-Li. It hung to her waist in 6 or 7 long braids, but it never seemed to get in her way as she worked. Cheng-Li liked her gentle smile, and she smiled often. Her clear brown eyes had a soft look that invited Cheng-Li to talk. What a pleasure that would be, but without words he could only return the smile. She talked constantly as if somehow Cheng-Li would understand. Mother has decided, and no one can argue, said Aga one morning. You are guest until leg has healed. And then? Asked Cheng-Li, sitting up on his mat. Then family decide what to do, Aga shrugged. Do? You don't have to do anything, Cheng-Li said in surprise. I don't want to stay here. He looked around the tent and then back at Aga. But I don't know how I'll leave, either. I have no horse and nowhere to go. The caravan has already left Kucha without me, and besides, I have to rescue the princess. Not very good plan, Aga said as he put on his jacket and a hat topped with eagle feathers. He turned away to wrap his left arm in layers of heavy padded leather. Cheng-Li recognized the sign that Aga planned to go hunting with his eagle. There would be fresh meat for supper. He admired Aga, but he didn't like him. Aga had a way of making everything he said sound like an insult. He seemed a little younger than Cheng-Li, and he had the same curly short hair as the rest of his family. In fact, like all the rest of the families in this meadow of nomads. He had skills that Cheng-Li had never seen, especially the hunting, not with a bow and arrow, but with an eagle. Through the open tent flap, Cheng-Li watched Aga barefoot, balancing on his horse without a saddle. Released the blindfolded eagle from his wooden perch. As it rode on Aga's padded arm, it stretched out its powerful wings and nearly knocked Aga off his horse. I've got to get out of here, Cheng-Li grumbled, but how? He clenched his teeth to help himself concentrate. He had learned the silk trade for his Chengon merchant, and then learned how to service a caravan trade for Master Fong. None of that helped him now. Here on the mountain, surrounded by lush green meadows and towering spruce trees, he felt ignorant and helpless. He pounded his fist against his forehead as if to pound in some useful thoughts. What do I know from my other lives that can be useful here in these mountains? What do I know that will help me find Mei Ling? He wondered gloomily. He sat gazing at the orange and yellow ribbons that threaded their way around the poles of the tent. Not a thing, he decided, not a thing. But he knew that he could do nothing at all until his leg healed, so he pulled himself up and tried to walk around inside the tent. The pain made him wince, but he could do it. At the end of the week, Mother made him a crutch from a tree branch, put boots of soft padded leather on his feet, and sent him outside into the sunshine. The wind welcomed him, brushing against his face with a dance of autumn crispness. This was not the dry, wailing wind of the desert. This breeze came heavy with the aroma of fields and meadows and forests beyond. He limped along the edge of the settlement, thankful for his tree branch crutch. 3 or 4 camels lay contentedly in the grass. Sheep munched their way around the tents and soon became his friends. following him and crowding him, nuzzling his side, almost asking him to pat their soft black and white wool. It was peaceful here, but he didn't feel peaceful. He had to find Mei Ling. Where could she be? And how could he ever find her? With no horse to take him anywhere at all. Across the settlement, a song interrupted his thoughts. He grinned. Something important must have happened, because these mountain people announce every bit of news with music. Well, boy, hear music? The old grandfather Whitebeard. He must have he must have had a name, but he was called Whitebeard by everyone to acknowledge that he lived long and grown wise, appeared out of the forest, with a load of wood balanced on his shoulders. He walked slowly, his long robe of green and tan stripes flowing gently against his legs, and his feet protected by thick padded boots. Greetings, grandfather. Yes, I hear it, Chengli answered. Do you know what has happened? Hanjanus, our eldest son, Whitebeard said, home from Kucha. Whitebeard shifted his load and kept walking across the meadow. He wants to meet you. Whitebeard, Chengli said, suddenly realizing he understood the words. You speak the language of the Middle Kingdom. I didn't know. Little bit, boy, and very bad. I forget much, Whitebeard chuckled. He dropped his load of wood and looked kindly at Chengli. When you well again, boy, what you want? Whitebeard's bushy white eyebrows pushed together above his nose. The skin around his dark eyes crinkled as he smiled at Chengli. What do I want? Echoed Chengli. Why come to mountain? Whitebeard's voice, soft and encouraging, drew out the story once more. In simple sentences, Chengli explained about the princess, how she had been kidnapped, and how he hoped to find her and rescue her. What plan, boy? Asked Whitebeard, sitting down on the pile of wood, straightening his long robe and looking carefully at Chengli. Plan? I have no plan, grandfather. I don't know where she is. I don't know how to find her. I don't know what to do if I do find her. Chengli watched Whitebeard, and for several seconds he felt the old man's eyes searching deep into his own. Not good, boy. Get plan, Whitebeard said, breaking the silence. He stood up, turned up the collar of his robe against the chill of the air, and heaved the wood back on his shoulders. Come, walk, make plan. Chengli limped along beside the grandfather and tried to think. So far, he had never made a plan. Things just happened. He had never thought out a plan to make things happen. I don't think I know how to make a plan, Chengli admitted, leaning on his crutch. What you want? The princess. Why? Because I'm the one who came up with such a great ideas to change her life. Chengli's thoughts began to tumble out. He forgot to keep the words simple so that Whitebeard could understand. They were just ideas, those things we talked about, like how she could run away and join the singers down in Kucha. But ideas turned into wishes, and the spirits heard the wishes and made them happen. Now her life has changed, and it's all my fault. So, he turned and looked at Whitebeard, I'm the one who should find her. A shout caused Chengli to turn. Across the meadow bounced Hojinas, swatting at the sheep that blocked his way. Hoginius welcomed Whitebeard. Hoginius, welcome, Whitebeard called. Come, tell news from the desert. Hoginius ran up, tall and strong, with the same curly hair as his younger brother, Aga, but with eyes that sparkled with gentle friendship. Chengli liked him immediately. I've been away, he said, looking at Chengli and the crutch. But I know all about you. I go to Kuja often to trade furs for food. Hoginius lifted Chengli right off the ground and spun him around in a dizzying circle. You're awfully young to be the cause of all the talk. Down on the ground again, Chengli steadied himself with his crutch. What do you mean all the talk? He asked. It's quite the news down in the bazaar, Hoginius said. clapping Chengli on the shoulder. What a story! The best we've heard in years. You're famous, boy. How about Imperial Royal Princess and a lowly caravan boy both disappeared on the same night? People argue all over Kucha. Chengli stared at Hogenius. Argue? Why should they argue? Well, some say they saw bandits kidnap the princess, and a boy that must be you ride off on a horse to save her. There's no argument, Chengli said, hopping around his crutch. That's what happened. Oh, but there is argument, Hogenius continued. Others say they actually heard, the same boy planning to help the royal princess escape, and that's what happened. He helped her escape. Hogenius landed a playful punch on Chengli's back. What a nest of bumblebees you have made down in Kucha. He laughed, threw his arms out wide, and called to the wind. Our little guest is famous. Hogenius, tell me, Chengli asked, did you hear anything about my caravan or my caravan master, Master Fong? He had completely vanished, gone into hiding. They say he is terrified to show up at either end of his route, Kashgar or Chang'an. He has lost a royal princess, and the emperor's men would slice him into two at the waist for such a crime. Only an idiot would stay with the caravan now. Hogenius jumped over a fallen tree trunk and stood before Chengli. But even without Master Fong, or you, or the princess, the caravan is moving west to reach their final stop at the city of Kashgar. For it is there that they will sell their loads to merchants from far distant lands. I saw your caravan leave before I started for home. Chengli grabbed at Hogenius and caught hold of his brightly embroidered vest. Now you see, he said, his voice strong and pleading, I must find Mei Ling and take her back. I knew I had to save her, but now I must save my master also. If I take her back to the caravan, they will both be safe. He stopped and looked from Whitebeard to Hogenius. I must go now. Hogenius rubbed his hands through his hair and turned to grandfather. With your permission, I will go and pass the word around the village so that anybody who travels will keep asking, and we will wait for news of your princess. News spreads slowly across these high mountains, he said, but it does spread. People travel back and forth following their sheep, trading their wares, visiting relatives, and always sharing the latest news. And indeed, before another week had ended, a stranger rode into the valley, reined his horse to stop in front of Whitebeard's yurt, and bursting into song, I have news, good news, bad news. Good, your princess we have seen. Bad, she is a prisoner of Haza the bandit, heading west, farther west. Not north, not south, always west. Come on, boy, your leg has almost completely healed. Get rid of your crutch, and let's go get your princess, yelled Hogenius. I'll go with you. We'll take 2 horses, one for me, one for you. We'll go to my uncle's village and wait there for more news. I'll give you to my cousins, and they will take you further on the journey. He turned but yelled over his shoulder, Get your things, let's go.